All right, lots to talk about in this video. Okay, lots to talk about. I haven't done a video on 154 since before the triple header that was on Showtime with Jamal Charlo against Lubin and Lara against Cachet and what was the other fight? Trout against Hurd. Okay, so this is my division. I love this division, so I wanted to give you an update. This past weekend we just got J Rock against Ishe Smith. I didn't speak on this fight. I didn't make a prediction or anything to this fight. But I remember when I heard about the fight, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was a good fight. Ishe Smith is a former champion who's been in the ring with people from as Daniel Jacobs and Carlos Molina and K9 and Lara and Monterosian, and I mean he's been in there with so many people. He's never been knocked out. He's only been knocked down one time, and I have no problem. I had no problem with this fight. Especially with J Rock. Recently getting knocked out by Jamal Charlo. Okay, I know he's had a fight since then. He did come back and have a win. But I had no problem with this fight. I thought it was a good fight, and I don't think J Rock uh, should get a title shot right now. I don't think he should. Same reasons why I didn't think Lubin should have got a title shot. You know, um, because I don't like the fact that these fighters, with all the fights that could be made, I don't like the fact that they're going strictly from fighting ordinary guys to a title shot. I don't like that. And we saw in a Lubin fight, which I will speak on later in this video, why that is a bad idea. Okay, I just don't like it. I remember the last time when I made a video on that fight, I did a prediction video. I brought this up and I said, at least Errol Spence before he went on and fight Kell Brook, and even I know I was wrong. I did pick Kell Brook. I thought Kell Brook was going to win that fight because of his experience. At least Errol Spence did fight a Bundu, did fight Algieri, did fight some other fighters that the other champions have faced before. At least he did. Whereas guys like J Rock going into the Charlo fight really didn't fight anyone. Guys like Lupin didn't fight anyone. Do you guys realize that Ishe Smith is the second best fighter that J Rock has fought? Outside of Jamal Charlo, Ishe Smith is the best fighter that J Rock has fought. You know, he's still the best fighter that he's ever fought. If you look at his resume, he's never fought anyone that is as outside of Jamal Charlo. He's never fought anyone as good and as proven as EJ Smith. So this was a very good fight. Now I saw the fight. I thought the cards were wide. I thought the fight was very very close. I thought the fight, depending on who's judging, could have gone either way. All right. I thought J Rock still did barely enough to secure a win. Okay. I thought he was just a little sharper, a little bit more consistent. Uh, I thought I think the way I scored it was like 6-4 because it was a 10 round fight. I thought it should have been a 12 round fight, but it is what it is. It was a 10 round fight, and I think I scored it for 6-4 to J Rock. A lot of those rounds, a few of those rounds I gave to J Rock, I thought were close. I could have gave to Ishe Smith, but I thought Ishe Smith at points was trying to steal rounds, and he did a good job of it. I mean, there was times where he came on and pushed the action for a whole minute of each round, and I didn't get anything back from J Rock. But I thought a lot of those combinations that Ishe Smith were throwing weren't really landing that clean. I thought that J Rock was slipping a lot of those punches and rolling a lot of those punches. Um, I thought a lot of them did land clean, but I thought consistently overall J Rock did just enough to win. I'm not mad for anybody that thought Ishe won. Um, it's just that I think the robbery, and I was looking at I watched the fight on YouTube the following morning, and I saw a lot of people leaving comments, screaming robbery, and I thought the scorecards is what made it a robbery because the judges made it and had it looking like it wasn't a close fight at all. But it was just that the fact that those rounds, a lot of those rounds were debatable. Outside of maybe a couple rounds early on, there really wasn't that many clear rounds. Outside the first couple rounds or so. You know, even in the last round, I remember watching the last round, and last round, early J Rock it seemed like he was closing the show, and I said, oh, well, J Rock got this in the bag. He started off strong, and then Ishe Smith came back. It was just like it was every round, almost every round was like that. You know, especially in midway through the fight and in the second half of the fight. But it was a good fight, and this is a fight that J Rock should have been in before he fought Charlo. I know he was calling out Austin Trout. He should have got that Austin Trout fight before he fought Charlo. Regardless of what I said, I thought going into that fight, I wasn't really sure who was going to win between J Rock and Charlo, because even Charlo at that time wasn't super proven. I know he beat K9, but I didn't rate K9 that high. I thought he had a draw with Trout. Okay. And I thought that J Rock had skills. And you know what? J Rock early on, he's very quick. Defensively, he's sharp, he's on point. But as the fight went on, he started taking, he was starting being a little careless with his defense. His defense looked very suspect in this fight with Ishe. And I think he needs more fights. I think he needs more fights to prove himself before he gets a title shot. I think he needs to fight a guy like Austin Trout. I understand that Austin Trout just lost. I know he got stopped by Hurd. But I think Hurd is that dangerous. I'll speak on Hurd shortly. But I think J Rock, before he gets another title shot, before he fights Charlo, before he fights Lara or, Hurd, he needs to fight a Trout or Avanis Martirosyan. Good fights, dangerous fights, tough fights, tight fights that he could lose. Tony Harrison, fight Tony Harrison. I know these guys have lost, but they've lost to champions. Okay? Those are the fights that J Rock need right now. I still consider him to be top 10, but I wouldn't rank him in the top 5 position. Not at this point. He has great skills. He's very athletic, but he's, I think as the fight goes on, he's not as sharp. He's not nearly as sharp as he is in the first early rounds. And in fact, I was more impressed with his fight against Charlo than I was in the Ishe Smith fight. Why? Because when he was having success against Charlo, he was very sharp. He was very quick. He was just on point. Sorry about that. He was sharp. He was on point. He got hit, got knocked out. It is what it is. But he was, as the fight was going, it was pretty good fight. Some even said that J Rock was having, the better of Charlo up until he got knocked out. Okay. But in this fight, very early, I noticed a difference in maybe third, fourth round that, J Rock was just getting kind of sloppy. He was getting hit by stuff that I felt that he should have been able to dodge. And, and it seemed like Ishe Smith was outworking him. A 39-year-old Ishe Smith was outworking him. And I didn't really like that, okay? He was doing some good body work. I give Ishe Smith a lot of credit. I think he's still a good competitor at 154 against the up-and-coming guys. But J Rock should have did better than that, because if it was a Jamal or Jamel or Hurd or or Lara, we've seen Ishe fight a lot of other guys, and a lot of other fighters were a lot more impressive against Ishe, especially recently, a younger Ishe than J Rock was, okay? So I need some more fights before he gets another title shot. Now, let's speak on everybody else. Let me start with Jarrett Hurd, okay? I am a true believer of Jarrett Hurd now. Whatever doubts I've had, they're gone, I figured he was going to beat Trout. Okay, I didn't think he would stop him, though. Okay, I didn't think he would stop him. I thought Trout was going to bring a little bit more than Harrison. Harrison was not surprised with, I knew he was going to stop Harrison because of his pressure. I am extremely impressed with Jarrett Hurd right now, and I'm going to tell you why. I know Lara's calling him out. I actually think Hurd has the best shot of beating Lara at 154. Okay, right now because Andrade moved up. Okay, Andrade moved up recently. Canelo's pretty much at 160. So out of the champions that's there right now, I think the most dangerous fighter for Lara is Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd. I mean, when it comes to making adjustments, he is the most versatile fighter at 154, in my opinion. He could fight. He could bring it to you flat-footed, straight at you, take a lot of shots. He has that. He could show you. He's proven in his the fight against Harrison, the fight against Trout, that he could come forward and bring you that rugged Mexican style fighting. All right, right to your front door. He's proven that to me. He could fight on his back foot too, set traps, roll punches, that Philly shell, like he did against Frank Galarza back then. We saw that back then. But now he's fighting guys where he has to bring the pressure and come forward. He takes the hits. Haven't seen him hurt. He's taking the punches well, and he's stopping good fighters out. Top 10 level fighters out, okay? Guys that's never been stopped. Trout, he's fought Canelo, been down against Canelo, been down against Lara. Okay, he's fought Jamal Charlo. Gave him a draw in my eyes. Very, very close, debatable fight. And Hurd went in there and stopped him. And I don't believe it was because Trout is too old or anything like that. Nah. Trout came in there, gave him a good fight, had great success early. But this guy Hurd is no joke. He's no joke. I don't know. I mean, at this point, you can't sleep on this guy because he's coming forward. He's being overly aggressive. But he could always switch back and fight a defensive fight and set traps and counter. He has so much potential. And I don't think it's hype with him. I don't think he's just getting lucky and stopping these guys. You got to pay attention to him, And let me tell you something. Why I think it's a dangerous fight for Lara is because Lara is getting older. He doesn't have the power. He didn't knock out Ishe. That was the biggest mismatch on that triple header card that night. And Lara didn't impress. All right, Lara hasn't really impressed lately. I thought he beat Canelo, but since then, he hasn't really impressed. He hasn't been fighting the good fighters, the fighters that we want to see him fight. All right, and you got Gaucher is an average fighter, and you couldn't stop him. He dropped him one time. You find Hurd. Hurd is going to come forward. Hurd is going to be aggressive. Hurd is going to bring you what Angulo brought. Okay, he's going to bring what Angulo brought in that fight when Lara fought him. And if you remember in that fight, Lara was a lot younger, okay? A lot more aggressive. Volume was a little higher. And Angulo was coming at his neck. He was coming straight forward, being aggressive, getting hit a lot, but he dropped Lara 2 times. Hurd can fight exactly that way. But the only difference, not only do I think Hurd is tougher, but he's a better boxer, okay? He's a better, his punch selection is way better. He's better defensively, okay? And he's younger. He has more power. He's fresher. Lara will have a hard time against her. And I think out of everyone there, the fighter that I think has the best chance of beating Lara right now is Jarrett Hurd. All right? That's my opinion. I think Hurd is dangerous. All right? Let's talk about the other biggest threat at 154 right now. Jermell Charlo. All right? This guy is seriously underrated, yo. Seriously. At this point, if you're still underestimating Jermell Charlo, this guy is in transition right now. He's doing nothing but knocking people out. He is stopping people. All right? This training, the change in trainers, preparing with Errol Spence, has elevated his whole game. Elevated. All right, he's in transition right now. He is dangerous right now for anyone. He is dangerous for anyone right now. He is improving with every fight. Lubin, I don't think Lubin should have fought him this soon. Okay, I didn't like that. I gave Jamel the edge. In the predictions, because of this reason. You're fighting a guy. He's preparing with a fighter in Errol Spence, who I think is better than Lubin. All right, he's preparing with him on a regular. Okay, a guy that I think is better. And I'm sure those sparring sections, those sessions are legit or intense. Just like they say they are. I had no doubt in my mind that Jamel Charlo was gonna win that fight. I know Lubin is dangerous. I know he's great, great prospect and everything like that. Oh, he had a great amateur background, but nah, nah, nah. He needed some more fights before he stepped it up, especially with a guy that's in transition like Jamel Charlo. Jamel Charlo is coming forward and he's knocking people out. He wants to knock everybody out now at this point. All right, it's not just his brother anymore. And I feel like, and I said this before that fight even happened. I said that, if Jamel is having some issues, if he's struggling a little bit against Lubin, he can always go back to his old defensive, slick way of fighting. He can go back to doing that, but we haven't seen it because he's been so successful fighting in this new way that he hasn't even had to go back to fighting that way. The close fights that we had before from him, like when he fought Vanes Monterosian, I think if he fought Vanes Monterosian again in a rematch, because that first fight was very, very debatable. If he were to fight him again, I think he would have more success. Okay, so I like Jamel right now. At this point, at 154, it is time for the Kings to fight each other. No more of these cards where you got Lara, you got Jamal. Well, Jamal moved up, but, Andre moved up. And let me speak on that real quick. Andre moving up. Andre's at 160 now. All right. I'm going to do a video on 160 as well. I know he's at 160 and everything, and that's cool. But I still want to see that Lara fight. I don't care what weight they make it at. I don't care what they do. But I'll be very disappointed at the two of them if neither one of them ever fought each other, if they never fought each other. That fight needs to happen. It needs to happen. Lara has talked about going up to 160. All right. So the weight should not be an issue. The weight should not be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue between. There should be no issues. Let's just not gonna just forget like that fight. Let's not forget about it. And Jamal's up there at 162. So the other person that Demetrius Andrade should be fighting is Jamal. All right? I mean, between Lara and Lara's a lot longer. Their beef is a lot older. They fought the amateurs. But that Jamal beef is real too. We should be getting that fight. All right? These guys should be fighting each other. But at 154, let's get some championship fights. All right? Hurd is out there. Jamel called him out. He'll fight Hurd. That should be a good fight. I don't know who will win that fight yet. I'll think about that later. But as far as everybody else, you still got Trout. I hope Trout doesn't retire. It was a good effort. He lost, but Hurd is no joke. But as far as the champions is concerned, they should be fighting each other. I know I was listening to an interview with Jamal, and he was talking about his brother fighting Lara, I'm sorry. He's talking about his brother fighting Lara. And he doesn't like it. He expressed it to his trainer that if you're going to train Lara to beat my brother, you're not going to be my trainer no more. And he even went as far as saying to his brother that he arguing his brother, don't fight Lara because that's going to ruin the relationship with everybody and all that stuff. Now, listen. Let's just say that fight does not happen because of this reason. Right? Let's just say they have the same trainer or they have, relationships, they're friends. If they don't fight, I want to see the fight. But if they don't fight, it's not the end of the world. There's still other belts at 154. My issue is no one is not fighting. Now, one brother moved up to 160, so he's out the way. But there's still other fighters that's there. There's still other fights that still could be made. Let's just not act like these other fights can't happen. So There are a lot of other fighters. It's not really just between Lara and Charlos, and it's not. I'm not gonna act like it's just those two. There's plenty of other fights that can be made right now. All right, these champions. It's time for them to start fighting each other. You know, none of these 3 triple header cards. Listen, we're not doing that no more. All right, people. You know, whoever's still undefeated at this point, there's other fighters that they should be facing in order to get a title shot. It's time for us to get some unification matches right now. Okay? It's time right now. You know, Hurd should be either fighting Lara or Charlo in his very next fight. And if it's not Lara, Lara got other business to handle. You know, he still has other businesses out there to take care of. All right? He got to stop fighting these bums, people that we know he's going to beat. All right. So, I mean, anyway, I still love the division, you know, but right now with the move for Andre going up to 160 and Jamal going up to 160, 160 is becoming even hotter right now because you got Canelo and Triple G still up there. You got Saunders and Lemieux. You got, the top 10 at 160 right now is kind of loaded right now. All right. But I'll make another video for that at another time. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I wanted to speak on. As far as Lubin losing, it is what it is, man. You can still bounce back, you know, just like J-Rock. These guys need to start fighting some of these other vets or some of these other tough, experienced fighters at 154. There's plenty of them out there. They don't just need title shots. They need to improve, all right? They need to improve. That's what they need, all right? Anyway, I'm out on that one. I'll see you on the next one.